For years, I thrived in the high-pressure business world, but the workaholic life finally caught up with me. I was 35, very overweight, in chronic pain with severe mobility issues, terrible diet, no exercise. My health was a complete wreck. Then I went to a gentle yoga class and felt truly relaxed. The stress just melted away. I went from a size 18 to a size 8. I stopped getting sick. Pain disappeared. I learned to open my heart and I felt happy for the first time in years. So I said goodbye to the business world and started teaching. Yoga doesn't have to be strenuous. The easiest movements can trigger major release of chronic symptoms, no matter your age.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hello, I'm Deborah Devine. Welcome to Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems. And yes, that was my story. Overweight, workaholic, and chronic pain until someone suggested gentle yoga. Long days at a desk with no exercise had left me with very heavy legs and hamstrings as tight as piano wire. This can happen at any age, but Zoomers have to be extra careful with their legs. They just get tighter, easier. I've put together a series of yoga moves that can release Zoomers from the bondage of their hamstrings. And you don't have to be flexible or in good shape to do it. We start with a simple warm-up that starts to release tension out of the backs of our legs. And then we create space in all of the neighboring areas, the hips, the low back. And we conclude with a relaxing cool down that will lighten and energize our legs. These poses are very easy. You might even doubt their efficacy. But even the simplest moves can make a major change in your tight legs. Do the whole series. Or if you're busy, a stretch or two will really make a difference. You'll be amazed. Let's start the healing. Joining me today, Inga, Elizabeth, and Sheila. All of us are going to experience some improvements with our hamstrings. We'll begin with Parshvattanasana, a wonderful warm-up. We come to the head of the mat, and it might be helpful to have a chair for you at the head of the mat so that you can have something to stabilize yourself. And then we bring the right foot back, bending the left knee. So we're just going to ground the back heel. We're going to try to straighten out the back leg, and we don't have to step too far back. If there's any discomfort to the point of pain, just come back and do a little bit less. We'll energize the back leg, pressing down into the heel, spreading the toes, and then we'll come to an awareness of the front leg, the left leg. Pressing down into the heel, the ball of the big toe, the ball of the baby toe, and then we'll begin to take the pelvis back. We're going to take the pelvis back. The sit bones and the tailbones are coming back. Maybe we'd like to straighten the front knee. So we're beginning to open up the back of the knee, lengthening the hamstrings here. We'll take 5 long, slow, smooth, and complete in and out breaths. Very gentle movements here. Let the breaths go into the places that are calling out for attention. Let the out breaths be complete and feel the belly come to the front spine. Those in-breaths, allow the in-breaths to telescope the ribs out and up, giving you some more space in between the top of the hips and the bottom of the ribs. Then at the end of the last breath cycle, we will stabilize ourselves on the chair and then press down with the feet, energize the legs, inhale and rise. And then we'll bring the back leg forward and we'll switch sides. Left leg comes back. And then just come to an awareness of what's going on with the pelvis. We're squeezing the side hips. Begin to take the sit bones and the tailbone back, bending at the hip creases. Keep the heart lifted, bring the shoulder blades down the back, and take some breaths. Long, slow, smooth in-breaths. Pressing down with the feet, exhaling completely, and feeling the belly come to the front spine. So please continue to enjoy a couple of rounds on each side as we take a break, and when we come back, we'll be moving deeper into the hamstrings.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
My name's Elizabeth. I'm 68 years old, and I do have what I would call a severe issue with hamstrings. I want to be flexible. I'd like to be a lot more flexible. I would like to be able to walk up and down stairs much more comfortably. They impact you not only physically. You think, oh, I'm old and I can't reach this, and I can't keep up with my grandchildren, and I can't go shopping for long distances with my granddaughter.
Welcome back. we've been working with the hamstrings with this gentle yoga practice. And Elizabeth is looking for ways to improve her flexibility. And this pose is going to really help get into the hip rotators. It's called pigeon pose. We'll bring the left leg up, and then we'll just let the foot come over towards the midline a little bit more, and we'll let the foot hinge up. We've got this wonderful external rotation going on with the left femur. How does this feel, Elizabeth?
There is a stretch.
Yes.
There is a stretch in the hamstrings.
Fantastic. So we're getting deeper into the hip rotators. And these muscles are connecting the sacrum to the outside of the upper leg bone. Once we release this area, we can go a lot deeper into the hamstrings, into the next pose. So we're going to be taking our breath and moving it deep into the piriformis, that muscle that lies underneath the glutes, and we'll breathe light and spaciousness, strengthening that wringing out sensation. We're trying to wring out old tension that's been hiding in there for a long time. And this natural external rotation of the upper leg bone is just going to bring the knee down. We're getting into the IT band on the side of the leg, this band of connective tissue that runs all the way from the side of the hip, down the side of the leg, up into the underside of the foot. Fantastic. Now, Inga is doing a modification that doesn't really require a chair other than for stabilizing herself. We've got a little bit of dorsiflexion happening. So the heel is strong, the toes are spread wide apart, and maybe we get this part of the heel coming out, and then we're bringing the toes back towards the knee. Yes. So we're getting a little bit deeper into the IT band, that band of connective tissue that runs on the outside of the leg, down the side of the shin, in underneath the two baby toes. And then we have Sheila working with another version here. We've got a little bit higher, a deeper stretch. Again, working that dorsiflexion, taking the heel and bringing it strong, letting the toes come back. That is a wonderful way to get deeper into this stretch. Now, of course, please continue on to the other side, but we'll be moving into Supta Padangusthasana. So when working with the hamstrings, it's a wonderful idea to get the hip rotators loosened up first. And once we get the hip rotators loosened up first, then we have access to all three of these hamstring muscles and the backs of the legs. So let's move into Supta Padangusthasana. Elizabeth, let's come on to the back. We'll come on to our back, and we'll bend the knees, and then we'll take the belt loop. Could be a bathrobe tie, it could be an old tie that your husband's got lying around. We'll take the belt loop around the ball of the big toe and the ball of the baby toe of the right foot. And then the right hand is going to be holding onto the belt. We'd like the hand to be long, and then the left hand can just come down. We're going to just find out where that place is where we've got a boundary between comfort and discomfort. And we'll just explore that. Maybe we'll take the left hand and palpate the back of the hamstring muscles and just see what's there. You know, this is the back country. We don't really spend a lot of time back here. So by looking at what kind of tissue buildup is happening here, we can identify and isolate the areas that we want to work with when we go into the breath. So the left leg can be bent or it can be long. And if it's long, let it have an inner spiral, an inward rotation to help the SI joint have a little bit more space. Let there be dorsiflexion in that grounded foot, and then engage the muscles, make them nice and strong, hug them to bone, and press down. Let this leg come down, grounding this leg. This is the anchor. Then we're going to try to open up the back of the knee just a little bit more. We'll take the sit bone down. We'll bring the sit bone towards the grounded foot, and then as soon as you start to feel like there's a pulling going on with your pelvis, just back off a little bit. Maybe give yourself a little bit of a bent knee, just a micro bend, or maybe more. It doesn't have to be a straight leg. We're trying to breathe light and spaciousness deep into the hamstring muscles here, and there are three of them. There's one on the outside, one in the middle, and one on the inside. One of those muscles might be very challenged. So just find out which one that is and breathe light and spaciousness into that muscle. Now, we're going to take the left hand onto the left thigh, and we're going to press down. This is our anchor side. We're going to go deep into the hip socket, into the head of the femur, and begin to rotate the knee out to the right. So we're rotating the knee out, the foot is rotating out, and then by pressing down on the left side, anchoring there, we're going to open up the leg, find that place between comfort and discomfort, and then just breathe into that boundary. We're opening up all kinds of lymphatic tissue here on the inner leg, and we're getting access to the inside part of the hamstring muscle here. Let the out-breath be complete. Feel the belly come to the front spine. Pause for a moment. Enjoy that stillness. And then at the end of the next out-breath, we're going to inhale and bring this right leg up. And then we're going to switch sides. So our left hand is going to take the belt, and we're going to find a way to get this bolster over onto the opposite side of the leg. And then we're going to come onto the left side of the hip. So we're going to roll over onto the left side of the hip, keeping the shoulder blades, trying to keep the shoulder blades planted on the ground. Now, if you'd like to take your right arm and let it come out and up, maybe in a cactus arm position or out in a T. Now we've got this wonderful ringing out of the spine, a ringing out of the belly, and a wonderful opening out through the outer part of the hip. We've got this length going on with the IT band here as well. And then, of course, we're getting into the outer part of the hamstring here. We take a couple of long, slow, smooth, and complete in and out breaths, resting the leg on the bolster here and just feeling this idea of moving the hip away from the bottom of the ribs. We're creating space here. We're working into the low back. We're working into the outside of the hip. We're working into the hamstrings. Let's step on the gas now. Press the foot into the belt and resist with the belt against the foot. Feel how that activates the whole back line. Bring breath, bring prana, bring life force into those areas that are calling for attention. And at the end of the next out breath, we'll come back up, switching hands, and then we'll let the right leg come down and we'll shake the legs out and see which leg feels longer than the other one. We're going to take a breather now, but please remember to do both sides for all of the poses that we've been doing. And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll be working a little bit more deeply into the hamstrings.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
I would like to be able to do the yoga poses much more easily than I have been doing them. It's important as I age to be as flexible as any 40-year-old woman could be. I don't like the fact that I'm getting older. I can't do anything about that, but I can get older better and healthier perhaps.
Welcome back. We've been working with the hamstrings, and we've been working with the hip rotators. We've been getting the surface of the hamstrings and starting to open things up. Are you enjoying these hamstring stretches, ladies? Fantastic. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to be taking a pose called Prasarita Padottanasana. It's a standing forward fold with wide legs. So we take the legs wide apart. The heels come out, the toes come in, and there's a bit of an inner spiral of the upper leg bones. We're going to give the knees a nice bend. Takes about 1.5 years to repair a torn hamstring, so bent knees and going gently is really important in this practice. Take your hands on your hips. Begin to bring your sit bones and tailbones back, containing the belly organs, bending at the crease of the hips. Hands come onto the knees. Elbows come onto the knees. Maybe you've got a bolster or a chair you'd like to rest your hands on. Maybe you're coming to the floor. Don't go into the pain zone. Come back into the comfort/discomfort zone and maybe start to walk the legs out one at a time, stretching out the legs one at a time. And breathing light and spaciousness into each of the hamstrings. Letting the sit bones and the tailbone come up, letting the spine pour out of the pelvis. You can let the head go, let the neck get nice and long. Long, slow, smooth in breaths. Long, slow, smooth, and complete out breaths. We've got Elizabeth on a chair here, so we're bringing the floor up, in effect, towards her, instead of her having to bend over and compromise her hamstrings. We've got a little bit of a micro bend in the knee so that we can prevent any hyperextension happening. And we're pressing into the outside part of the heels, and we're feeling this energy coming up the inner legs. Feel the muscles of the inner legs hug up into the bones. Take the sit bones wider apart. Let the upper leg bones rotate internally. And then will energize the legs, ground through the feet, and press down into your support, and then rise. Lift yourself strongly up to Tadasana. And then you're coming up into mountain pose, so come on back up. Yes. And then bringing your feet a little bit closer together. We're going to come into Uttanasana, the standing forward fold with feet a little bit closer. Again, same principles apply here. We're going for the heels out, the toes in. There's a little bit of an inner spiral here of the upper legs that is going to give the SI joints some more room to play with. Bend the knees, take the sit bones and tailbone back, put your hands on your knees, elbows on your knees, and then begin to come down. Where would your hands like to come? Maybe a block, a bolster, chair. And we're breathing. Long, slow, smooth in breaths. Long, slow, smooth out breaths. Lengthening out the backs of the knees one at a time. This is wonderful, Inga. How is this feeling on your hamstrings?
Feels terrific.
Fantastic. And then maybe one leg comes along at a time. So we bend one knee, straighten a little bit out the other side, and then the other way. Yes. We're accessing different muscles here. We're accessing more into the middle part of the hamstrings here. In Prasarita Padottanasana, the first wide-legged standing forward fold, we were accessing a lot more on the inner line of the legs. So now we're getting into the middle muscle of the hamstrings. There's two attachments in these muscles, one in the middle of the femur and one up at the top of the sit bones. We're letting the sit bones come up. We're taking the pelvis up and over the heads of the femur bones. When you're ready, engage your muscles of the legs, press down into the feet, inhale and rise up strongly, coming up into mountain. Now, please continue to experience these beautiful standing forward folds as we take a break. And when we come back, we'll be cooling down and going into Shavasana.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Rolling out the soles of your feet with a tennis ball will loosen the plantar fascia, a chain of connective tissue that runs up the whole back line of your body. It will ease your hamstrings and have a Botox-like effect on your face.
Welcome back. We've been working very deeply into the hamstrings, and now for our cool down, we're going to be elevating the legs. We're going to be going into an inversion called Viparita Karani, the waterfall pose. So let's begin. You can do this at home by a wall. You just clear out the space and you just throw your legs up the wall and enjoy that. We have a bolster here that's going to be supporting the pelvis. So let's come on to our back, ladies. We're going to be sliding in the bolster underneath the pelvis and supporting the low back. And then we bend the knees and one leg comes up and then the other leg comes up. And we circle the ankles, we spread the toes, and you can allow yourself to rest here on this support. At home, you can use a rolled up blanket, you can use some towels that are piled up, and this wonderful action of draining all of the lymph out of the legs, moving energy down and grounding it is an excellent practice after this very interesting work that we've been doing with the back line of the body. Then you can just let your ankles and your feet be. We've got Elizabeth over here doing a different modification. She's using a chair. And maybe you'd like to go into a butterfly position, Elizabeth, just taking the soles of the feet together and allowing the knees to come apart, and maybe just rocking the pelvis back and forth a few times, maybe butterflying the knees and resting here. Long, slow, smooth in breaths. Long, slow, smooth, and complete out breaths. Let go of the eyes. Let go of the jaws. And after a few moments, you may feel like you've had enough, and that's great. Or you can spend 10, 15, 20 minutes in this pose. We'll be coming into Shavasana. You can stay here for your tranquility pose, or you can remove the bolster and just lie flat and enjoy your Shavasana lying down, grounding. After all of this work that we've done on the hamstrings, you should feel so much revitalization happening in your legs. Some people say that they feel like they got leg transplants after working with the hamstrings. We forget about what's happening on the back line of the body. And so bringing some awareness back here, bringing some breath back here, using props, ties, bathrobe ties, whatnot, that can really help move some energy out of the hamstrings that's been trapped there for a long time. And you will feel a wonderful improvement in all of your standing and moving around activities. Please enjoy Shavasana for at least 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll see you again on Healing Yoga. Thank you.